Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. We're back on Fiendsmith Tearlaments decks. And this one is going to be Rescue Ace, one of very many decks that did greatly benefit from the Fiendsmith package coming out. Really, any fire-based deck can make use of the Fiendsmith package as long as Beatrice is legal, right? Because you can always just go, you all know the line by now, right? Engraver, da-da-da-da-da, into Sequence, fusing into Lacrima, bringing back Engraver, overlaying into Beatrice, dumping your Fire Monster, in this case probably Hydrant, and then linking off the Sequence and the Beatrice into the Promethean Princess to then bring back your Fire Monster, in our case Hydrant, and then get your plays going. And of course, as always, this line does not use your normal summon, so you can bring back the Hydrant, use the effect in order to add Airlifter, then you could still just normal summon Airlifter, and then from there add Emergency, go into Turbulence. We all kind of know how Rescue Ace plays out, right? It's really not too different, it's just a lot more streamlined thanks to the Fiendsmith stuff, and I decided to make room for Tearlaments package as well. Couple of reasons for this. One is that you just play 3 Diabellstar in Rescue Ace every time anyway, because of course OSS is such an important card for this deck. So I figure if we're already playing 3 Diabellstar, like, is it really that much commitment for, what, 4 main deck slots and 2 extra deck slots? I kind of didn't really think it was. That said, I do kind of feel it in the main deck a little bit, mostly in that I think instead of playing Tearlaments, you could just play more hand traps. That's kind of what I was thinking about doing, right? If I was going to cut Tearlaments just to be playing more hand traps, which if I was playing in a tournament, I'd probably just do that because I think that would be better in the long run. But for ranked ladder, for flashy combos and stuff, I'm just going to play the Tearlaments stuff and just not worry about going second, right? Yeah, so yeah, Tearlaments I think is very optional here, but Fiendsmith I would be playing with Rescue Ace every single time right now. Also, you definitely want this deck to be a good bit above 40 cards. If I go above 40 cards, usually I'll stick around 41 or 42, but this is one of those decks where we have a lot of cards that we're not trying to open, so having upwards of 45 cards I think is completely fine, right? For stuff we're not trying to open, we're really not trying to open Fabled Lurie, Poplar, Rescue Ace Fire Engine, what else is there? Tract, and of course all of the various Rescue Ace spell and trap cards, except Emergency. We like opening Emergency, but these one-ofs that we set off Turbulence, we're not trying to open any of those, and that's quite a bit. That's quite a few cards that we don't want in our opening hand. Of course, it's always the kind of thing you have to balance right with a build like this, is playing over 40 to not open the stuff you don't want to open, but still playing enough openers, like ratio-wise, that you're still having a, consistent deck. And we have a ton of ways to start our lines, right? Between Airlifter and Engraver and Diabellstar and Rhoda and Bonfire, even down to Deception. Because you could always, right? Like, you might be like, Deception, isn't that just Tearlaments plays? But no, think about it. You could Deception tribute a monster for Hallowed Tearlaments, Fuse for Move-Rishilago for Wanted, Wanted for Diabellstar, Diabellstar for OSS, OSS for Hydrant, boom, now you're under Rescue Ace plays. So, again, I feel like there's enough natural synergy that it's definitely worth exploring the idea of Tearlaments, if nothing else, right? Even if it doesn't end up being optimal. Like I said, or not like I said, but like I have said in previous videos, Droll and Lockbird, very, very important card in this meta as far as hand traps go. So we're on triple Droll and Lockbird, prioritizing that over a lot of hand traps, including Fuelos, Effect Veiler, Imperm, Nib. I would definitely, for most decks, I would be trying to fit in Droll and Lockbirds before going out of my way to worry about all those other cards. Granted, Veiler and Imperm do tend to be better in certain decks than this one. Like White Forest, for example, really likes both Veiler and Imperm, because Veiler is a light spellcaster and Imperm is a spell/trap card. So, but yeah, I think this build is pretty much very self-explanatory, though. I imagine that you're all familiar with Fiendsmith and Azamita cards by this point, and if you have any amount of familiarity with Rescue Ace, then you already know how this deck plays. There's not really any super specific combo lines. Again, if you know how to combo with Fiendsmith, and you know how to combo with Rescue Ace, you already know how to play this deck. So, why don't we go ahead and just break this list down card by card, and then we'll take a look at some of our games that we played with it. So, we're on 1 Fabled Lurie, 3 Droll Lockbird, 2 Rescue Ace Hydrant, 1 Snake Eyes Poplar, 2 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Rescue Ace Impulse, 2 Rescue Ace Airlifter, 2 Fiendsmith Engraver, 1 Rescue Ace Fire Engine, 3 Diabell Star the Black Witch, 2 Rescue Ace Preventer, 1 Rescue Ace Turbulence, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 2 Bonfire, 1 Original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye, 1 Fiendsmith's Tract, 1 The Hallowed Azamina, 1 Rescue Ace HQ, 3 Deception of the Sinful Spoils, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Rescue, 1 Alert, 3 Emergency, 1 Wanted, Seeker of Sinful Spoils, 1 Contain, and finally 1 Extinguish. And that is going to do it for our 45-card main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Fiendsmith's Lacrima, 1 Azamina Ilia Sylvia, 1 Azamina Mu Murcielago, 1 Fiendsmith's Desiree, 1 Beatrice Lady of the Eternal, 1 Lankriba, 1 Fiendsmith's Requiem, 1 Hita, the Fire Charmer Ablaze, 1 SP Little Knight, 1 Moon of the Closed Heaven, 1 Fiendsmith Sequence, 1 Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames, 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, 1 World Sea Dragon Zealantis, and finally 1 Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. There's our list. Let's look at these games. Alright, our first opponent is going to be on Fiendsmith Tearlaments, and we are going second for this game. Which is a little bit scary with Rescue Ace. You definitely have the advantage when you're going first, but doesn't mean going second games are impossible to win by any means, especially when you have a very prominent hand trap to help you out here, right? Opponent's going to lead with Cashier Fenrir, adding Tearlaments Cashier, and as soon as they do that, we are going to fire off the Droll and Lockbird. Now, granted, they still get to go into a decent amount of plays here. Droll doesn't totally lock out Tearlament, but it does still limit a lot of what they can get access to, right? Going for the Tearlaments Kiklos here. Kiklos can only mill, not add now, so they're going to mill Rhino Heart. Milling Rhino Heart lets them summon it and then send the Tear Cache. Tear Cache gets to mill 2, and they're going to activate Kiklos effect to mill 8, feel great. But again, a lot of what they can benefit off of this milling is greatly reduced by the Droll and Lockbird, right? If they mill any of the Tearlaments spell and trap cards, they're not going to be able to add stuff. They actually didn't mill any anyway, which is a little unlucky for me, and they did manage to hit their Shiren, so they do get to fuse with that here. Fusing with the Kiklos that is in the graveyard in order to summon out the Rokalos. And 1 set card is all they've got before passing. I thought maybe they'd try to link like Rhino Heart and Tear Cache into Little Knight, but then I guess they did summon the Rokalos and the EMZ for some reason, so that doesn't really leave that an option. Anyway. You'll also notice that I did not activate Rescue Ace Impulse, even though I could have, and that's because my opponent led with Fenrir, right? If I led with Impulse and tried to summon Fire Engine and use the effect, they just banish with Fenrir, and it's like, I figure I'd just save the Impulse. Might need to tribute it for Deception or send it for Diabell Star or something. Here I'm going to lead with Bonfire for Poplar. Wanted to see if that would bait either the Fenrir or the Rokalos. It does bait out the Fenrir, which is pretty good for me. Gonna use the Wanted here, and my opponent's actually chaining the Droplet, which is pretty good for me. Although I will say I made a misplay here. I should have fired off. The call by on Keldo like right now. I really should have. That's gonna come back to bite me later in this turn. But yeah, because I do need cards in the graveyard to banish to summon Rescue Ace stuff, and that is gonna matter, right? So. I don't really care about the Poplar getting banished and negated. That's whatever, but like if you look here, right? Yeah, as soon as I put those 2 Rescue Ace cards in the graveyard, I realized, oh shoot, Keldo, that's right. And it's like now I have to awkwardly use Call By, and just when they would be able to put back stuff they want to anyway. Now, granted, it's not like I can't make any plays at all from here, but yeah, that was definitely a misplay on my part. But here I can still normal summon Airlifter. Airlifter, I'm actually going to add Alert from my deck to hand. Then I'm going to send off the Airlifter for Diabellstar. Diabellstar F in order to set Deception. I can flip up Deception. Deception F here in order to tribute the Diabellstar in order to add Hallowed Azamina. Now we can use Hallowed Azamina F in order to bait out the Rolcolos. I really needed this Rolcolos to activate before I was able to go for my Turbulence, right? Hoping they don't mill anything here. They don't. It was Maxi and Nib, thank God. Now we can use Alert in order to add Turbulence, and by linking off Hydrant for Linkuriboh, now I have 2 Rescue Ace cards in my graveyard again, and now I can summon out the Turbulence. This is not like Diabellstar, right? You might be wondering, well, Hex, you summoned Diabellstar just fine. Why are you worried about Turbulence? That's because Diabellstar, if you actually read her text, says you can special summon this card from your hand by sending 1 card from your hand or fill to the graveyard. That's all one sentence with no colons or semicolons, meaning that's one of those summons that just happens. You just do it, right? Turbulence, however, if you look, says you can banish 2 Rescue Ace cards from your graveyard, semicolon, special summon this card from your hand. The semicolon indicates a cost, which means that this is an activated effect. One that can be negated by Rolcolos, but Diabellstar cannot be negated by Rolcolos. Alright, Turbulence F, we're going to set 4 here. Mix them all up, and then moving to battle phase, I'm going to use Turbulence to battle over Fenrir, and then main phase 2, I'm going to link Linkuriboh and Turbulence into SP Little Knight. And then Little Knight is going to get to banish the Rolcolos. They don't really have anything in their graveyard that's live, so we're going to pass it over to them. And then during the opponent's draw phase, we're going to flip up Alert. And then Alert is going to let us bring back the Hydrant in our graveyard, which not only lets us use our Rescue Ace trap cards, but also gets their bonus effects online as well. But as soon as I activate Alert, my opponent just ends up conceding, likely knowing that's going to be the case. So yeah, like I said, we misplayed pretty hard into that Keldo, really hard into that Keldo actually, but thankfully it wasn't enough to cost us the duel, and we were still able to come out on top. Yay! Alright, let's take a look at the next game. Alright, we have another going second game here. This one's going to be against Traptrix. It's almost 60 card, not quite, I think they're on 54 cards. So as you can see, it's another hand where we managed to open the Joel. We've got Maxi as well. So when my opponent goes to normal summon Mantis, activate in order to add Dionea, we have some options here, right? Do we want a Maxi or do we want a Joel and Lockbird? This is an important skill to practice right now. With Joel and Lockbird being so prominent, this is probably going to be a situation that you run into quite a bit. Here's what I consider, right? 2 main factors. 1, my hand. 2, my opponent's deck. I look at my hand. If I need a lot of draws in order to get my plays going, I'm going to 100% prioritize Maxi over Joel and Lockbird. Here, I already have Bonfire and Deception to get my plays going, so that's not necessarily the case. 2, we're considering our opponent's deck. Does your opponent add a lot of cards from deck to hand? Traptrix is, I think, on the average side of things. Like, you think about Traptrix Sarah, and she summons from deck and sets stuff, so Droll doesn't stop that. There are some Traptrix monsters that add stuff, but those are mostly off normal summons, which our opponent already did anyway. Therefore, even though I already have cards in my hand that let me make plays, I'm actually going to end up valuing the Maxi more highly than the Joel and Lockbird. Also against Traptrix, you do want to fire off Maxi as soon as they have a monster on the field, because remember, Sarah is a link one. They can just go into her, right? They are going to end up summoning the level 4 extender, and then going into Rafflesia. It's going to let me draw Bonfire plus a second, or not Bonfire, Ash Blossom plus second Deception here. Revealing Lord of the Heavenly Prison after setting one and then passing it over to me. Engraver is a fantastic top deck here. Not that we even really needed it. We already have everything we could want in this hand. Deception, I'll send off this draw I end up not needing. Going for Murashilago. I don't really... our opponent doesn't have that much. I'm just going to try to bait out stuff here. I don't need to go for the Azamina, Ilia, Sylvia right away. I just want to see if they end up, responding to our stuff at all. But they didn't, so I'm going to go Chainlink 1, Hallowed Azamina, Chainlink 2, Wanted here. I'll just put back the Murashilago from field. I'm not really that concerned about getting all the advantage, because this hand is already so great anyway. Alright, here's Ilia, Sylvia. Alright, finally baiting out the Rafflesia effect, going for the... Is that Deep Dark Trap Hole? Is that what card's called? It is. I remembered it. Wow. Trying to banish Ilia Sylvia. I'll just tributes that way that, you know, it ends up back in the graveyard. Alright, now I'm going to go for Fiendsmith stuff, because we still have a back row that I want to bait out here. Engraver for Tract for Lurie. Of course, I'm going to go Lurie effect here to summon. And the other nice thing, too, is, like, these lines that I'm using to try to bait out my opponent's stuff, it's not like, you know... Like, it's a win-win for me, right? Like, if my Fiendsmith line successfully baits the back row, then cool, I don't have to worry about the back row. If it doesn't, then my Fiendsmith line is full combo and I win anyway, right? Like, so... Alright, the Engraver effect, it does manage to bait out the face down as Traptrix, Trap Hole, Nightmare. Alright, now they can summon Lord of the Heavenly Prison, but moreover, now they don't have any back rows, and being both, 1, a Traptrix deck, 2, an almost 60-card deck, 3, we know one of the 2 cards in hand is a Traptrix Mantis, or no, Dionea. Yeah, I'm not really that concerned about, like, hand traps here moving forward, right? That Grave of a Super Ancient Organism might be a little annoying, but at the same time, we could just go for, like, a Zealantis OTK if we really have to, right? So... Yeah, I'll go for the Poplar, for OSS, for Hydrant F here to activate, and this is where they concede. You know, it's funny, I notice a lot of people... This is the second person who's conceded as soon as the Hydrant hits the board. It's funny, because it's really easy to think, like, oh, Turbulence set 4, is that really even that good in modern Yu-Gi-Oh? But, like, people are still sufficiently scared of it. I think it is definitely still that good in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, Rescue Ace is, I've always said this, it's one of the most underplayed decks in Master Duel. It's a very, very good deck, but you never see it on Ranked Ladder because people just kind of find it boring, which I understand, but I just think it's really cool. Anyway, we got one more game to finish off with. Let's go into that one. And our final game is against Fiendsmith Dark World. And another going second. This isn't even intentional. This like whole past week when I've been recording games, I'm just losing all these coin flips and just getting really solid games. So now here, once again, we open with both a Maxi and a Droll. So again, we ask ourselves to Maxi or to Droll, which is the question. Here, I do have the Bellstar, so I do technically have plays, but I would like an extender here, so I'm going to go for Maxi. I want to make use of this emergency, basically. Alright, so Fabled Lurie summons. We're going to draw Deception. Here they go for Gen. Gen for Ken. And I was like, okay, Fabled plus Ken and Gen. Alright, so Ken lets them draw 2, discard 1. And then I saw the Dark World monster, and I was like, oh... Because Ken says draw 2, discard, then discard 1. So it's part of the effect. And because Ken is on my field, it makes the Dark World monsters get their effects of when they're discarded by an opponent's card effect. That's very, very sneaky. I really should have drolled by this point, but I was really just waiting for a Rescue Ace monster. Our 2 draws so far have been Diabell, another Diabell, and a Deception. Okay, now that I have Fire Engine, I feel a lot better about using Droll and Lockbird here. I did want to use Droll sooner rather than later. I think we're all well aware of the fact that Dark World, if you're not, you should be well aware of the fact that Dark World is one of those decks that can summon enough to deck you out with Max C. They can perform just about literally infinite summons. So I definitely do not mind cutting off my own Max C with Droll and Lockbird here. Plus, Dark World also really cares about adding and drawing cards, so drawing them is very, very highly impactful. You could make an argument that I got really greedy. I almost said selfish for some reason. Greedy is the word I was looking for. Greedy with my Max C draws here, wanting to get a Rescue Ace monster before drolling. That I might have given them a little bit too much to do. I was concerned about that, but seeing what they ended on here doesn't really look like that was the case. I feel like they could have ended on Fiendsmith's Desiree, and even if they had, we still could have played through that. But yeah, as soon as I start going for actual plays here, looks like they're just going to pick up their stuff and concede. So I think these games not only did a sufficient job of showcasing Rescue Ace in this format, a deck you would not expect to do well going second, but it also showcased the power of Droll and Lockbird in this format. Good lord. Yeah, it's very, very good. But yeah, anyway, thank you so very much for watching these games. I appreciate it. I keep saying it, and it's continues to be true. If you watch till the end, that is the greatest way to support the channel. Also, huge thanks. I know I thank you all at the credits in the end, but recently in the last week, I've noticed a huge influx of new YouTube members. So thank you all very much. I'm going to try to, ideally at some point in the next couple of days, I'd like to get out some YouTube members exclusive content to show my appreciation for y'all. But we'll see. That'll hopefully come soon enough. But that'll do it for now. Let's move on now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.